My name is Peter Dreo. I am honored to be running for the office of Town Council Member for the town of New Scotland. I have a master's degree in public administration and over 20 years of experience in public finance and legislative negotiations and analysis. I am privileged to be a resident of the town since 2015, which is coming up on 9 years now. I live near Indian Ladder Farm with my wife, Julia Hartman Dreo, who is a retired state trooper with over 32 years of service. I am currently employed by the New York State Senate in a finance and legislative advisory role. I'm running because I love this town, its rural lifestyle, open spaces, and beautiful landscape. I believe that government works best when there are different voices. Currently, the town is at 4-0, controlled by one party. I don't believe this is healthy on either side of the aisle. If you elect Carissa and myself, the balance will be 2-2, and the decision-making process will be inclusive of the entire town from Furbush to Slingerlands. Our ticket is pro-homeowner in that we should all be able to do more of what we want on our property, and pro-business in that small businesses should be able to get up and running and faster with less tape so they can focus on revenue and on, more importantly, on customers. And that concludes my opening remarks. Thank you, Melissa, and the Altamont Enterprise for allowing me the opportunity to participate in this forum today.
Well, thank you. And we're moving on to Bridget Burke.
Hi, thank you for having me, for hosting this forum, and to the residents who are watching. I have been a resident of New Scotland for 25 years, a quarter century. I have 2 wonderful adult children, a husband, and as of September, a grandchild. I've dedicated my career to public service as a public interest lawyer, as a law professor, as the director of nonprofits, and here at the town, and as a volunteer. The New Scotland Town Board has been getting the job done. We have protected the natural beauty and history of New Scotland. We have shepherded in sustainable development, and we have provided the infrastructure and supports that our residents want and need. Thank you, and for that reason, I hope you'll re-elect me.
Thank you. And next, we're going to hear from Carissa Mayer.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm going to thank the Altamont Enterprise and those who are listening today. My name is Carissa Mayer. I'm running for New Scotland Town Board. I lived in upstate New York my entire life, except for the travel for military deployments. My boy's dad's in the U.S. Army Special Forces. He's an operator. I moved to New Scotland for the open space, farms, the outdoors, the school, the wonderful teachers, and the history. I've been in New Scotland for over 10 years, raising my 3 kids here. I own a home. I pay taxes. I've been a registered nurse for over 25 years. I have an MBA from Union College. I get a bachelor's in nursing, and I've spent much of my life serving others. I believe I really have a commitment and passion for that. I'm very involved in the community in New Scotland right now, from sports to the Rod and Gun Club, Voorheesville School Activities, senior services. I'm a former member of Voorheesville United Methodist Church, do a lot with our farming and small business community, and I'm always at community events. 3 reasons why I'm running. 1, I have a passion for our town. I take great pride in living here in New Scotland, but feel we could do more for our residents by way of addressing quality of life issues such as water, community connectors, and doing more in our neighborhoods around public safety. 2, getting more community input and better community engagement. So really passion for our town as a mom and someone who's raising her kids here. 2, adding a fresh perspective. We've had the same people on the board for history. No branch of government works effectively without checks and balances and accountability. And to be a good public servant, I feel one must objectively listen to all sides and make the best informed decisions, having the best interest of the public in play. And then finally, fiscal responsibility. Really right now at the state level, we're having gaps of about $36+ billion. And it's a matter of time before taxes are raised again. The money has to come from somewhere. It might not in an election year, but large budget gaps underscore the importance of building up reserves. I want to enhance and improve the services we provide in the town to our residents while finding innovative ways to build reserves. I feel like I can do that in my 30 years of leadership and operations experience in government and the private sector. I worked for a nonprofit. I ran an entire grants department and secured millions of private and public funding as a grants writer. And then finally, in my current role, I developed community programs for disabled individuals and also for seniors. So I'd be proud to serve this community, and I thank you again.
Thank you. The final opening statement comes from William Hennessy.
Thank you, Melissa, and to the enterprise for sponsoring this forum. It's indicative of the transparent and open government that we run here in the town. We're very proud to have provided the town over the past 10 years with everything that all four people have said today in this forum, that we have protected and enhanced open space. We have protected and enhanced the way of life here in New Scotland, and we have improved it. So that is why it's important that you know the current candidates, the current board, continue in our position. I'm very proud and happy to have provide 40 plus years of engineering experience, professional experience to the town. I have planned, I have designed, and I have managed construction of millions of dollars of projects. I have assessed and remediated environmental contaminated properties to enhance and to improve the lives of people in the state, people in the county, people in our town. So it's very important to me that I provide that kind of capability to the town. And I've done that now for 10 years. I've sponsored planning and zoning improvements. I've sponsored the comprehensive plan update. I've sponsored water district consolidations and improvements. I've sponsored the Hilton Barn renovations and improvements, which have led to a 15-acre park for the town. Relatively unheard of in many towns is actually adding parks to your repertoire, and we've done that, and we are continuing to improve it and continuing to provide these things that I'm proud to say that it's enhancing what all four people have said so far this morning. So let's keep it up. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. So the subject for our first question, and there's a bit of background first, we'll get to the question at the end. The subject is seniors, as in elderly people. Deb Engel, New Scotland's Senior Outreach Liaison, continues to make the case for a new van to transport the town's elderly residents. Transportation of New Scotland senior citizens has been at half capacity for the past 3 years after it was determined repairing one of the town's 2 senior buses would be too expensive. Engel told the town board on October 11th that parts for the remaining 2009 vehicle are hard to find. I'm just afraid if it breaks down again, we'll be without one, she said. While it waits to hear on grants, the board agreed to put $50,000 of its federal pandemic funds towards a $120,000 new van. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, seniors are currently the largest population cohort in New Scotland. Nearly 38% of residents are over the age of 55. At the same time, 4% of New Scotland seniors are considered below the poverty line. 85% of housing units in town are owner-occupied, meaning just 15% are for renters. The median value of those owner-occupied homes is roughly $270,000. 41% of housing units in town are in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, with 12% over $500,000. Just 4% are under $100,000. So the question Do you believe seniors should be able to age in place? And if so, what can the town do in terms of zoning, housing, services, and transportation to make that a reality? If not, if you don't think aging in place is important, why not? So we're starting this with Bridget Burke. You're muted. Still can't hear.
Thank you.
Bridget Burke is just tuning in. She's getting herself set up so we can hear her.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me
There.
now?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
It's absolutely true that the largest segment of our population are seniors, and I have spent much of my career working on deinstitutionalizing folks with disabilities and think seniors are just as important. And we need to have the possibility that seniors can age in place. That's critical. We do a great job of that in New Scotland. Deb Engel is amazing. She's our senior coordinator. We provide food to seniors several days a week. The transportation issue is a very real one because of shortages after the COVID pandemic and rising costs. We had difficulty with the van, but I think we've come up with a way where ARPA funds and where grant money can be used to pay for a van. If the grant money doesn't come through, I voted that we should absolutely still pay 100% for that van. I also believe tax cuts to seniors who are living really at a very fixed income. New York State has recently changed the law so that we can increase the income that people can have in order to get the tax cut. And I think it's critical that we get that done and suspect that we'll be doing that next week. We've also really pulled together volunteer days to go to seniors' homes and do things like build ramps and clean lawns. I spent a delightful day cleaning the lawn of an elderly resident with my son and with my husband. And you know, it was absolutely delightful, but it really made the world of difference to that individual. So I think all of those things are very important. I think that being responsive to seniors' needs, we're a town government that doesn't just focus on laws and regulations and mandated services. But if a person calls us and tells us that they're having a problem, we will do something. Or if they show up at a board meeting, we will do something to address that problem. We love to do direct constituent services, and we're happy to continue to do that. Seniors have given so much to our community, and it's our turn to give to them and make it possible for them to stay in their homes and thrive in the community.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to Carissa Mayer.
Thank you, Melissa. Well, this is a phenomenal question because I've spent pretty much my entire career focusing on the aged and aging in place. I'm a national expert for long-term services and support, having wrote many state Medicaid contracts and federal waivers and put programs together in, across the country, Hawaii, Michigan, Tennessee. So my background is I am a registered nurse of nearly 30 years, and my focus area has been senior services. From ramps, as Bridget indicated, to getting people housing and transportation and ADL and IDL, so that the activities that they can't do in the home, caregiving being a big one right now. We have a national shortage in caregiving and a workforce shortage in healthcare. Fundamentally, we have to address this issue. I would argue in our town, why do we have a $70,000 deficit when we knew these projections were coming? It's not new news that we have an aging epidemic right now. And it's on all of us to really see, how do we contribute to the folks that have been and spent their entire lives here? We owe it to them, yes, to give back. I totally support senior services. As a grants writer and someone who's put money into the home and community-based service industry, I used to work for New York State Association of Healthcare Providers, an associate that focuses on aging in place. I brought in millions of dollars, both from federal and private and public, organizations. There is definitely ways. And as a grants writer, I'm very proactive in that area. We can get a bus. We can get seniors meals. We can get, and I've had very good conversations with Deb Engel, and I want to echo Bridget's comments. Deb is an amazing person, but it takes a village. Collectively, it starts with our town, in the county, in the state, and working with Senator Breslin. The different folks around the town that we can, get a leg up, but that takes time, and we can't rely just on public funding. There are things out there. One thing I'm very good at is raising funds, especially for a cause. I have an 86-year-old father, and there's not a day that goes by that I worry that despite his wonderful attitude, I know someday I'm going to get that bad news of my dad is not able to take care of himself anymore. He did almost die during COVID. So I am very much passionate about senior services. And as I go to the nearly 9,000 homes in the town and I see seniors, what is it you need? What can the town do for you? There's so much social isolation right now. It's not just going to somebody's house, it's collectively having something in the town or senior center. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully you can tell my passion in this topic. Thank you, Melissa.
Yes, thank you. And now we're going to hear from William Hennessy.
Thank you, Melissa. This is a vital issue in the town, and we certainly have been on top of it. When we hired Deb Engel to be our senior coordinator, we knew she had the passion. We knew she had the zeal. We knew she had the smarts to handle that job, and she's done a magnificent job with that. We've had changes in vehicles, and we've seen this vehicle problem coming, which is why I was actually the one to sponsor the resolution to use the ARPA money to fund the bus. And Bridget brought up that it's important that we keep it as open as possible. If we don't get the grants to fund the full price of the bus, then maybe we need to use even more ARPA money to fund the bus. So that's an option that we can still pursue. We have a magnificent senior meals program in town where weekly we provide free meals for seniors in town. We actually provide the transportation for many people to get to and from those meals. So we recognize the difficulty that we have for aging in place and being able to get the individuals from whether it's from senior housing or whether it's from their own house to get to our community center for the meals. We have demonstrated that we can work with zoning, we can adjust zoning, we can amend zoning to accommodate housing for this, to accommodate the capability to revise existing property conditions, existing zoning laws, to accommodate in-house, in-place housing for seniors. We have areas in town that already have those accommodations. From the village to Fierbush to Clarksville, we actually have certain accommodations that address that and afford that. So we've dealt with this and we'll continue to deal with this because that's what we've been doing for 10 years and we're proud that we've been successful at it.
Thank you. And finally, we're going to hear from Peter Drao.
Hi, Melissa. This is a great question. I support seniors. I support aging in place. I support the bus. I think part of my work in the Senate is coordinating grants, many grants, and there's something in the legislature called SAM grants. I believe we could work with Senator Breslin to secure a SAM grant to pay for a senior bus. But we would also have to have the $50,000 in ARPA funds, the federal level that's promised. It would have to be secured and in place for DASNY to fund it. So there's got to be a lot of behind the scenes stuff done. I think with Carissa's grant writing knowledge and my I'm going to say, intimate understanding of the New York State legislative process, we could correctly do this. So the funding for ARPA is secured. We'd have to have a backup to the 50,000 in the event that there were ARPA delays, because DASNY won't release the money without the full funding in place. And then we could get the bus. And then we should also build, I think, a shelter for the bus. It was mentioned to me during our canvassing that you have a new bus, it's parked outside, and do we have a place to put it? And so also part of that is, if elected, I would ask for a hearing on fixed assets to review public plant, property, and equipment in terms of the senior center, what types of repairs need to be made, what's the condition of it in terms of, you know, the highway garage, what needs to be done with that, in terms that to identify the other fixed assets in the town. My wife, when she was in the state police, troopers had cars with 100,000 miles on them. What's the condition of the town's vehicle fleet? All of these things roll into that. So the bus is an important part of senior services, which I support. Another thing we could do for seniors is to amend the zoning law to allow single home senior apartments to be built in the houses that are in the residential homes that are in the town, so seniors could age in place and they could have access to their loved ones. So I think this is very doable. I look forward to doing it and would be humbled by the opportunity to try. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question, the topic is climate change. New York State has set a goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% below the levels emitted in 1990 by the year 2050. To encourage municipalities to do their part, the state created a Climate Smart program. 5 years ago, in June 2018, New Scotland passed a resolution to become a climate smart community under the program administered by the state's Department of Environmental Conservation. The state outlines practical advantages to governments participating in the program, a gateway to grants, a chance to share best practices with peers, streamline access to resources, training tools, expert guidance. Since then, the town board has heard complaints from residents saying their properties with increasing rains are repeatedly flooded. In August 2022, many residents had voiced their objections to a proposed New Scotland law, which sought to, quote, provide for the proper maintenance of residential, commercial, and industrial properties in town to prevent blight, unhealthy, hazardous, or unsightly conditions due to the accumulation of brush, grass, weeds, etc. In September, the town's attorney said he'd revisit that law, focusing on what he called the safety stuff. So the question is, do you believe humans have caused climate change? And if so, what actions has the town taken, or should the town take, as part of the Climate Smart program or outside of it? And then if you don't think humans cause climate change, why not? So we're going to start this off with Carissa Mayer.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so the answer to your question, do humans cause climate change? I think humans are responsible for all kinds of things. We have a, commitment to protect the environment. I think, one of the reasons I came here was the open space in New Scotland. It's a beautiful area. And I really think there's got to be a balance with, what we do. I know it's a time right now where the state is imposing a lot of requirements on, the towns. And, quite frankly, I think, town government really has to advocate on what the community wants. Having forums, having the ability for community, stakeholders to have a say in what's best for the town of New Scotland, as opposed to a state mandate. Yes, I think climate change is real, as I said that in the debate 2 years ago. We all play a role in, picking up trash, doing our best. I mean, I'm always telling my kids, take the lights off, do things like, frugally to maintain, and they learn this in school about the environment. So it's on all of our parts to, do what's best for the environment, because we live in a beautiful country, the United States of America. And I think the big thing is, I do agree that there has to be more community input rather than unfunded mandates. And I think there's a way to do it that also preserves the open space and beauty of our town. One thing I don't want to see all over the town is, solar panels in every single corner of the spectrum. I think there's a way to do it, and place them in a way that's, aesthetically correct, while also looking at other ways that we can conserve as a community, using less electricity, having some of the LED lights that I know have been put up, but not everywhere. Doing things collectively as a town to clean up garbage and having town days to support that. But I think, I would look to our town government to be able to inform those decisions instead of having a state mandate. I do agree that we have to reopen things and look at them and have the community, weigh in on those. And as somebody who's very near and dear, I live on 3 acres right now, so I'm always outside cleaning and doing things. But at the end of the day, I think that, to have our rights infringed on as well, we have to weigh in the balance. It's a balance, right? And having the town be our advocates in that when it comes to state funding and determining what's best, and not just taking funding, but asking the community, how do they want to spend it towards climate change, having them come up with some ideas and having a collective, decision from there. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And next up is William Hennessy.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, I certainly agree that humans have been part of the reason for the cause of climate change. It's sad that some people don't agree with that obvious science to me, but that's part of the beauty of America, with the diversity of opinion. I'm happy to have the education and scientific knowledge that to me proves that yes, humans have clearly been frankly the major cause of climate change. Frankly, I believe that there have been many natural phenomena that clearly contribute to it, but the major cause to me certainly has been fossil fuel and human use thereof. The town has, since we did become the climate smart community and agree for that, the town has made several planning and zoning initiatives to try to protect that. We've increased open space requirements to thus help maintain our natural resources in town, to help provide that addition of carbon sequestration through forestry and through trees. We've changed some of our laws to require keeping mature forests and not allowing them to be removed on projects. We've tried to get involved in other energy-related initiatives to help support renewable energy uses for electricity and for our utilities. The town actually tried to have a solar farm built on our old landfill. No, not in our backyard. No, not in our front yard. No, not where someone is going to see it. It would be at our old landfill. We tried very hard for that, but the New York State grid and utility transmission infrastructure was not large enough to support that use. We continue to talk to NYSERDA. We continue to talk to the state about that potential to improve that utility so that we can, in fact, utilize our old landfill for solar. A perfect reuse, a perfect adaptive reuse, if you will, of that facility. So we continue to support efforts to reduce climate change effects. We do what we can. While it's great to blame the federal governments on all of those things, and they have to make the corrections, I believe that Local governments should be making changes to their zoning and planning to try to address this and try to help mitigate these problems that we have.
Thank you. And Peter Dreo is up next.
Thank you, Melissa, for this question. It's a very involved and complicated question. As a proud member of the Voorheesville Rod and Gun Club, I'm a committed conservationist. We do things in terms of taking care of the land and making sure that the place that you live is better when you leave it than when you came upon it. Broadly stated, I believe humans contribute to climate change, but I'm not a scientist. I don't know the other dynamics of it. I don't know if humans are driving the boat on climate change, but I think clearly climate change is occurring and humans have a role in it. I just don't have a qualified opinion to state further. I think that I strongly also believe in a well-ordered transition to renewables. It has to be done in a rational and sensible way that we don't cause job displacement and we don't deteriorate electrical generating capacity of the grid. I think with solar, the grid capacities are definitely an issue, and the place where solar panels are on their development curve is potentially an issue. The question that I have is, are solar panels like computers? If you remember the Acer computer in the 1990s, it was $3,000. You could do half of what our cell phone does today. So are we in a place where the solar panels in 10 years from now are going to be twice as efficient? Are they going to be more ready and up to meeting our energy consumption needs of today? And if so, are we going to have a landfill full of lithium-based exhausted solar panels that are obsolete and are depleted over time? So that's how do we manage the solar panels as they depreciate and as they become depleted? That's the question. I also don't support the clear cutting of mature forest for the purpose of putting up solar panels. I don't think that's helpful toward addressing our issue with our carbon footprint or for the generation of green energy. It's not green. It's a business initiative, but it's not a green initiative. I believe that. So that's pretty much, that's where I am with this. Oh, and agricultural farmland. Putting solar panels on agricultural use farmland is not helpful. I mean, it's, clearly private property rights. If you want to put solar panels on your land, it's your right to do so. But is it necessarily green? I would argue probably not. The discussion can go back and forth. So it's a very complicated issue, and there's a lot of other things that should be addressed in the context of it. On the local side, I think we should do more with zoning to encourage people to have off-the-grid houses and make it easier for them to do things that, could involve solar panels or could involve other things, could involve geothermal to reduce our individual footprint while at the same time giving these technologies time to evolve. That's the best I can do on this one. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And finally, we're going to hear from Bridget Burke.
Hi, thank you for this question. I not only think that humans are responsible in large part for global warming, but humans are responsible for addressing global warming. My husband is a physicist and has spent his entire career focused on this issue, mentoring small businesses and large businesses in developing the technology that we need to really address this problem. My house has solar panels, has geothermal, and I drive an electric car. I am all in on this issue. I think that it's important to note that we have been getting the job done. It's small, and New Scotland can only do a small part, but we have been addressing the issues that we can through the change in the solar law, not only encouraging solar on private property when the landowner wants their land used that way, but encouraging that trees be planted and not cut down when solar arrays go into place. We have been making sure that we speak with NYSERDA and with the utility companies to try to get the best supports and services and green energy that we can in the town of New Scotland. We have preserved open space, and we have addressed many water issues and flooding issues. Do we have farther to go? Yes. New Scotland will always need to address water, both in terms of drinking water, but also making sure the flow of water is such that it's not destroying people's homes or quality of life. And absolutely, when given the opportunity, we need to address those things and act as an advocate. Of course, we all speak to the state government, but we're the town government. And so it's not just about advocating for someone else to give us the right or the power to do things, but for us to do it ourselves. In terms of public forums, we have public forums every month and usually twice a month. They're called town board meetings. And this last decade, or during my term, we have opened up those board meetings by making them available to people by Zoom, so that they don't at night have to come out of their homes and into our town hall, but can sit in the comfort of their own homes and watch the meetings and participate as active participants in those meetings. We've had public hearings on our solar law, on water issues. We've also made sure that LED lights have been put in place in much of the town to have better energy efficient lighting throughout our community. In terms of what John has said, he's using scare tactics. He's talking about things that are really not a problem in New Scotland. And I think we need to stick to the facts and talk about what's really working in New Scotland.
Thank you. So we're moving on to our third and final question, and the topic is a sense of place. Many residents of New Scotland, both ones who have lived in town for generations as well as newcomers, say they value the small town atmosphere where neighbors know neighbors and people look out for one another. The town has an active historical association, and Alan Kolowitz chairs the Joint Village and Town Historic Preservation Commission, which secured a grant to do a cultural resource survey, leading to the pursuit of naming several national historic districts in town. Kolowitz believes historic preservation can improve quality of life and help economic and community development. New Scotland is growing at a faster rate than any other municipality in Albany County, with a 5.8% increase in population over the last decade, according to federal census data. Kolowitz sees an irony in people moving to New Scotland because it's a beautiful town, and then having development pressure erode what drew them to town in the first place. Also this year, a group of small business owners in town launched a sort of chamber of commerce called Our New Scotland, hosting a community day as they try to raise awareness of their existence and encourage residents to support them. And this, I'm concluding with a quote from the group's founder, Craig Schufelt. He said, "There's well over 150 businesses registered to a town with fewer than 10,000 inhabitants. That's one business for every 66 residents. We can't expect the community to fully flex its potential if our native entrepreneurs are losing patrons and foot traffic to the malls or to Amazon." So here's the question. Is a sense of place important for New Scotland? And if so, what specific measures can the town take to encourage it? And if you don't think a sense of place is important for the town, you can tell us about Why not? So we start this time with William Hennessy.
Thank you, Melissa. The town was very proud to help start the Historic Resource Commission. They started in I believe 2022, and we've been very supportive. Another member of our board, Dan Leining, has been the liaison and has been with them since the get-go. We've been supportive of them, and we continue to be. Clearly, we have demonstrated more support for historic preservation than any board in my time in the town. Obviously, the example is saving the largest barn in Albany County, Hilton Barn, which was going to be dismantled or destructed by developers of the Levy Farm subdivision. We saved that barn in roughly 3 months. We could not have done that without a lot of help from a lot of historic preservation people, but I was glad to be part of it. As an engineer, clearly I knew how to help save that barn, how to move it, how to get it done in 3 months, which was still somewhat amazing to me that we were able to accomplish that. And by continuing to improve that barn and save it and get back to its original luster, we gained a 15-acre park. So, you know, it's one of those attitudes where you can say, if you build it, they will come. It's clearly an example of something like that. We clearly need to make sure we continue such things because they add to the sense of place that you require in a community. Having the village in the town provides us with that near urban center for providing such commercial centers that are needed, because the town is certainly more rural and suburban centric. We have changed our zoning to accommodate these things. We've created the Hamlet zone along Route 85, which will definitely provide the impetus to provide a sense of place and community centers on 85. We now have that Hilton Park that's going to be able to serve that part of town, which never had that capability in the past. We have moved on with economic development and the group Our New Scotland. Well, frankly, I was a charter member of that group and continue to be an active member of that group. I am a small business owner, and I'm involved in them from day-to-day operations and their meetings. So it's important to recognize those. And the town has pursued all of these efforts through our comp plan update years ago, which encouraged that small business attitude, and that's where we're going with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Peter Dreo.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for the question. On housekeeping, Bridget, I apologize. My name is Peter Dreo. I have John Galt because I'm using my Google and usually I do. I'm sorry. Anyway, yes, sense of place is very important for the town of New Scotland. It is a beautiful town with just lots of history and just so much to it. It's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, so absolutely a sense of place is important. I think at the end of the day, how we're challenged by growth. Any place that experiences growth is very challenging for businesses and for communities, and so the idea is, how do we manage the growth? And I think the the Joint Committee on Historical Preservation, I believe, is a good vehicle to make sure that we maintain our sense of place while we're managing growth. For businesses, 150 businesses and 10,000, with 10,000 inhabitants, I think the best thing that as a town and as government in general can do for small businesses to get out of their way Let them focus on revenue. Let them focus on customer relationships. And we should make it easy for these businesses to get up and running, to get their brick and mortar presence in place, then so they can expand, with their online fulfillment. And we can have small businesses with large customer bases in a town that, we're in a town where I believe that they would fit well. So the short answer is absolutely sense of place is important, and I support preserving and working to keep these valuable historical places and making them part of the community and part of the growth and part of the draw. So thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And we're going to hear from Bridget Burke next.
Thank you. And yes, Peter, I apologize. Sense of space, place is really very important. We're all running for town government and living in New Scotland because we love New Scotland. It's a beautiful place. It's got natural beauty. It's got historical significance. It's got community of people who are really very giving and energetic and interesting. And so the first thing in trying to preserve anything is in truly trying to understand it. Our board is a group of people who've been part of this community for a very long time and have welcomed new residents of the community and have gotten out and talked to the public and talked to residents and community groups and organizations to make sure that we not only understand what we love about the community, but what our residents love about the community. In terms of how do we preserve our sense of space, our sense of place, I keep on saying space, alliteration is not working for me. In terms of preserving that, the town, before I was even on the board, did a wonderful job in developing a comprehensive plan that not only looked at the natural resources in the community, but really where are we in our place in the world and for our residents. We're a home or a place where people commute from here into bigger regions. They've defended and will continue to defend against any intrusion of large boxes, stores, or big businesses that will destroy the natural environment and what we love about our place and create too much traffic and too much just general environmental problems. We believe in New Scotland. In addition to the comprehensive plan, we've codified the zoning so that it's easier for sustainable development to occur. We've allowed for improvements and make it more transparent and to make it easier for people to develop things, but in a responsible manner that doesn't disrupt what we truly love about New Scotland and what our residents love about New Scotland. In terms of get out of the way, well, it's never the role of the town board to simply just get out of the way, but it is the role of the town board to responsibly use our authority to make sure that we're using it in a way that's helpful to our residents, that's supportive of the landowners, that protects our environment. And that's what we've done. We're not putting unnecessary restrictions, but we're really serving our place.
Thank you. And the last word on a sense of place goes to Carissa Mayer.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, I definitely agree. We have to have a sense of place in the community. And I think that starts with all of us, town government being a collaborator and a partner in it, but obviously the people that come in. Bridget pointed out there's a lot of people coming in that are new to the town. There's a lot of people that have lived here forever. I think it's a balance. I think new people bring fresh perspectives. They bring ideas and creativity. They bring business acumen, and they bring things like their children that want to have a sense of purpose in the community and be involved. So I think it's a combination and it's a joint effort. You know, there's no winning a ticket here because you've been in the town forever. It's about who the people love best and who's going to do the job for you. I think at the end of the day, I look at it like, since I've lived in the town, you know, we do a lot in the area of Voorheesville. We say we're the town of New Scotland, but we would be remiss, you know, to not look at the beauty of Faribault and Clarksville and Slingerlands and all the other places. They play a key role too. It's not just Voorheesville. You know, we talk about the barn in Voorheesville, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But at the end of the day, I came here for the beauty. We have Thatcher Park. We have all kinds of things around and different, you know, markers as you drive along the way. And one thing I love to do when I campaign here is just to drive around and see the beauty with my children. It's amazing. And I do want to preserve that. And I think it's a balance. I think Craig's doing a great job. I've known Craig for a while now, and I know he has a lot of the small businesses that I frequent locally. That's my first preference. If I can do it close by and with someone in our town, and as Peter indicated, you know, we're pro small micro business. We want to make sure that people have what they need locally without having to drive far away, but then driving far away for some of the big things, because we don't want anything big in the town. I'm certainly against that, and I oppose it in any way, shape, or form. But small mom and pops, being a small businesswoman myself and having an MBA, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. You know, something I thought of when we were talking earlier is, you know, when we talked a little bit about historic preservation, absolutely, I'm all for it. I think those are the, you know, nonprofits play a big role in the community. How do we better support them in town government? How do we make sure they're doing things? And as a town, we have to take pride. You know, New Scotland's going to be 200 years old soon. So, you know, something I was thinking about and doing more in the community, having a 2031 bicentennial day. Other towns have done this. You know, how do we get people charged around a, you know, something that they really feel is important to them living in their town? You know, as it relates to the barn, it's been very controversial topic in our community due to concerns about appearance, structural integrity, what businesses might reside there, and the town sustaining it financially. As a grants writer, yes, we've secured grants, but we know for capital projects, we need to have that long-term financial sustainability. And I strongly believe there needs to be more public forums to get input on long-term sustainability of the barn. It's absolutely beautiful, but should the town have sole financial ownership and interest, or should a nonprofit or an other entity help support? What venues are being considered? You know, as I go around the town, I'm hearing things about a big wedding venue. I don't know, but given traffic, water issues, and noise, keep in mind, one of the things that I'm running on is quality of life issues. Every door, there's water challenges. We do have a lot of growth. So we have to be very mindful and thoughtful around that as a town, and making sure we're making the best informed decisions for the folks that live here now, before we continue to grow and grow and grow, because a lot of us came here for that open space and beauty. You know, and looking at other funding streams that exist for some of the historical preservation is some area of opportunity. And that's something I feel play a very good role on. So in summary, yes, I feel we have a sense of purpose that starts even with our kids. And it's having a passion around how to support our nonprofits and the historical folks and the small businesses here. And, you know, making sure it makes sense for all of our town, not just for one area. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And as our hour comes to a close, each candidate now is going to make a short closing statement, and we're starting with Peter Dreo.
There. Oh, thank you, Melissa, for the opportunity, and thank you to the Altamont Enterprise for hosting this. We believe that balance and transparency is a good thing, especially in government. We are pro-business, and our ticket is pro-homeowner. To me, balance and transparency means different voices. Different voices promote openness that results in more decisions being made in the public view as opposed to behind the scenes with stakeholders. Taxpayers are the largest stakeholders in government. We believe that the government at all levels, at the local, state, and federal level, work for the taxpayers. So that's the transparency angle on it. If elected, I will fight hard to keep property taxes low, and I will be guided by the idea that all of us should be able to keep more of what we earn, do more of what we want, and protect what we have. And again, thank you for the opportunity. New Scotland is a beautiful town. I believe it definitely has a sense of place, and I look forward to contributing to the community in any way, win, lose, or draw in the election. Thank you.
Thank you. And we move along to Bridget Burke.
Thank you. I would say that experience matters, and you have a town board with experience that's working. And so I would suggest that the voters stick with us. I'm running because I believe in the community of New Scotland and I believe in public service. I think that New Scotland is on the right track, and many of the issues that have been raised by our opponents are issues that really don't apply to New Scotland. We truly on the board understand our town. In terms of the suggestion made by Carissa that a wedding venue is wanted in the town, there are currently 2 beautiful wedding venues in the town of New Scotland. And that's certainly not to say that I wouldn't encourage a 3rd, but we know what is here. In terms of diversity of board membership, it's not about the party. We all love the town. We all want the same things for the town, Republican or Democrat. It's about diversity of thought and diversity of representation of the geographic regions of town. Chris is right. There's so many beautiful regions. I live on top of the Unionville Hill and look at the Helderbergs and have really not very much time of mine before I was on this board was spent in Voorheesville, Clarksville, Bush, Unionville. They're all important too, but Voorheesville, we have to acknowledge, is the greatest population. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on Voorheesville. And I think that it's important that we listen to our constituents, and we have been doing that. We have been getting the job done, and I hope to continue to get the job done if you'll reelect me. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear the closing thoughts from Carissa Mayer.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to the Enterprise for hosting and moderating this community forum. If elected to New Scotland Town Board, I'll do my best to listen and ensure transparency. I'm a firm believer that we must lead by example. Work cannot be done within the confines of a town government office or at a board meeting, but instead it happens out there, being out in the community and rolling our sleeves up. In 2021, I did just that. I visited nearly all 9,000 residents in town. And again, this year, I've met with residents, local groups, small business owners, farmers, attended and participated in numerous community events, seeking to expand my understanding about what issues matter most in our town. This is not an easy job. As you know, I have 3 children. One has special needs, and they're very involved with sports. So my children come with me. I want them to know that community and service starts at a young age, and civics is so important. But it's one that I'm highly capable of as a registered nurse, with an MBA, a grants writer, and a leader in an organization for nearly 30 years. Simply put, I care. My 3 kids reside in the community, and I have a vested interest in its success. I want my kids to grow up and raise their families here. And I promise that if I'm elected, I will look out for our town's interest. I want to be the voice of the people that don't feel like they have a voice in town government. Nothing in life remains the same. We always need change. If town government had an answer, shouldn't we expect an ongoing review of their performance? The best leaders empower people and work their way out of a job because they have a well-oiled machine. It's time for change. It's time to get our community energized, to get more people to attend town board meetings. And we need another set of eyes advocating for our community. I truly think that having one party rule for many years since 1999 really puts our government at a loss because there's not a check and balance and accountability system. Single party rule doesn't represent the collective needs, and interests of its constituents. And again, my passion for the town has to relate, and why I'm running, quality of life issues, community advocacy, adding a fresh perspective. I have a lot of energy. Anybody who knows me and can attest that I'm very involved in the community. I stop at nothing to help people and to get involved. And I want to be fiscally responsible of some of the decisions we're making and making sure the community has input. On November 7th, I would appreciate you voting for Carissa Mayer, New Scotland Town Board. I really feel that I'm adding a difference to the community, and I welcome any open items and questions that anybody in the town may have. I think for those of you who know, I've been campaigning for quite a while. You have my phone number. I have an open door policy. I really think that town government plays a role to be infused in the community and to lead by example and having that feet on the street and knocking on doors and doing the role of the government. The government works for us. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And the very last word goes to William Hennessy.
Sorry. Thank you, Melissa. I again want to thank the Enterprise for conducting this forum. I'm very proud of the diversity of our ticket and the diversity of our board. I am a Democrat, but I am also endorsed by the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party clearly demonstrates the diversity that I represent. I am a businessman myself. The Republican Party supports small business. Well, I am one. The Republican Party supports, open government. Well, we have all of our meetings and all of our hearings and more, and everything is more open than I think sometimes that we should be. So it's important that we recognize that we can work together and not have the difficulties that sometimes the far right will bring to our government and has brought to our national government. We have to be careful when we have candidates who reject the obvious significant contribution of humans to climate change. We have to be careful when we consider candidates who want to do exactly what we're doing now, but when they get in, they may change that outlook. I'm proud to have Teddy Roosevelt as a hero of mine, and he was very much walk the walk and not just talk the talk. He said it's not the critic, it's not the cynic that counts. It's the guy in the arena, the guy doing the work, the guy out there doing these things. And that's what I've been doing for 40 years. I haven't been monitoring and reviewing and checking over everybody else's work. I've been doing the work. So I'm proud that our board has rolled up its sleeves. Our board has taken on every comer, has taken on every issue, and has addressed it. And most notably, during COVID, we came out probably better than every other town. Our finances are in fantastic shape. We are better off than many communities, and as such, Melissa even brought it up that we've had 5.2% growth, and we have the planning and zoning in place to address that and to accommodate appropriate zoning, appropriate development, appropriate planning, and we just need to keep it up and keep moving forward in that direction. And Melissa, again, thank you to you and the Enterprise for this forum.
Well, thank you to all of you. I'm quite thrilled that we had a civil conversation, and this will be posted when our newspaper comes out, and stay up on our YouTube page as well as on our website right through Election Day. And I'll be seeing you on election night.
Thank you.
Thank you.